Hey guys, it's Ian, and I'm really excited about today's video. I've been wanting to do it for a long time now, and that's actually to basically make my own version of the Street Fighter character select screen. I've always really loved the designs from the Street Fighter series, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. It's going to be broken into 4 videos, so I'm going to do around 4 characters each, all from Super Street Fighter 2. I also wanted to mention that I am doing a giveaway too. After all the videos are completed, I'm actually giving away a Cammy Kotobukiya statue. I'll tell you how you can have a chance to win that at the end of the video. But with that, let's get started.
Thailand!
So first up we have Sagat, and with this character I was still trying to feel out where I was going to go design-wise for each of these characters, the style I was going to do. So I just out of curiosity started off with kind of this really sketchy, charcoal-y pencil in Procreate. And all of these figures are done in Procreate. It's all done digitally. Initially I was thinking maybe I'll have something that was going to be more of that brushy kind of aesthetic that you would see in Street Fighter 4, but I ended up going with more of a classic kind of cartoony style, and I think it fits better with that 16-bit aesthetic that it can easily get translated to. So you can see that starting to come in here, that a little bit more of that kind of cell shading. I'm going with the 3 kind of tones there, more of a highlight, mid-tone, and then those darker shadows there. Now Sagat is a character that's, for me, at least my perception of the character has changed over time, which I just thought was this kind of villain, but he has changed to have a little bit more complexity. He's kind of almost more of this anti-hero as far as canon is concerned now. I'm not as familiar with where he stands now, but I did want to make sure that he didn't look just like a straight-up villain, that there's something about him that isn't just super menacing. He looks intimidating, but not just a total villain. Also, you could see in the background there that I actually did some backgrounds. I was experimenting to see if any kind of background color would make it pop and if it would stand on its own. I prefer just the look of it with the white background. I did leave that in there, and a lot of times for the process videos, I'll just leave in things that I don't use. I know it might be a little jarring video-wise when you look at that, but I do want people to see that not everything that I put down is the finalized version, but I also want to have it there for people to see, like, oh yeah, it is a process, really trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, and how to come up with a final product like this. There is a little, of course, less experimenting, because once I kind of had this style down, I know how to treat the other characters kind of going forward. It was actually a really big deal trying to figure out in my head if I wanted the red and blue or the purple and yellow trunks. I did go with the red and blue. I think that is, I don't know, just more appealing to my eyes than his purple and yellow trunks. But with that, just a little bit of touches here, we come up to the finished product. I'm okay with how this one came out. It's probably my least favorite out of the 4 in this video, but yeah, I'm still fairly happy with it. And with that, we have Sagat.
Tiger, uppercut, tiger, knee! USA!
Next up, we have Balrog, and for Balrog, I wanted to make more of a dynamic pose for him. Sagat was more of this kind of stoic, intimidating figure. I wanted Balrog to be kind of fun, and I wanted there to be a lot of energy to his character as well. So I had a pretty good idea with Balrog what I was going to do. For those of you that aren't aware, he's really heavily inspired on, or basically is, Mike Tyson. In fact, the Japanese name was M. Bison, and then that got moved to M. Bison's character. So M. Bison, Mike Tyson, you know. But anyway, so Balrog here, or Mike Tyson, I'm giving him kind of this goofy smile and pose here. And he's definitely this hyper-exaggerated caricature figure there. But I messed around with his arms a couple places here. I was going to have it arch back. You can kind of see the layout of it there, where it's actually arched back like he's going to do another punch, but I thought it looked a lot more just like a boxer pose to have that one guard up and one punch coming out there too. You can also see that I did mess around with some of the type there too. I was actually going to have some of the type champion, I believe it was, in his gloves there. I ended up really not liking it. I just wanted to do something that wasn't so digital looking, I guess. Like, I didn't want to rely on any kind of type or anything like that. And I also ended up just really liking the solid white contrasting with the red gloves there. So I ended up really I'm happy that I didn't add the type in there. But just trying it out there, seeing if it works. Again, with these characters, they're really good with their colors. There are some things that are broken down where you just can tell each of these characters simply by their color, and this is definitely one of those characters that is just really simple colors, but it works so well with his red gloves and his blue uniform and white there. It's a very American looking character in it. It just works out really well. The fabric here was really fun to do. I wasn't sure if it was going to work too much or not, and I didn't want it to get too busy with the wrinkles and creases and movement there, but it was really fun to do, and I think it ended up turning out really well. Again, kind of going with, like I did with Sagat there, with basic highlights, kind of a mid-tone, and then darker shadows. I do add in a little bit more details in this figure, and then figures going forward here, some areas that are a little bit darker, some areas that are a little bit lighter, and it helps kind of add a little bit more 3 dimensions to each character there. But with that, we're coming up to our finish here, and this is Balrog. Definitely probably one of my favorites out of the 4 here that I did.
Spain.
Next up we have Vega, and Vega was one of my favorite characters as a kid, and I think because he's kind of this mysterious, weird, stabby, pretty boy psychopath. He has a lot of elements that might seem too much, but I think that's kind of his character. He's kind of over the top, he's definitely extra, and it somehow works out for him to have all these elements. He has his mask, he has his stabby Wolverine claws, he has this tattoo, he's shirtless, he has this long hair, he's just doing weird stuff. So anyways, he was a really fun character to draw here. So one of the first things I wanted to make sure that I got besides his mask was those long nails, and somehow that makes him really creepy and gross, but I wanted to make sure I had those nails in there and that they looked like they were kind of menacing along with his claws there. I also I didn't know how to approach the bracelets, because actually another thing with this character, because maybe there are so many elements that he has going on, there's a lot of variations from what I've seen in reference to Vega. And I'll get into just skin tones and hair later, but with his tattoo, with his bracelets, with even his claw and how that's designed, there's a lot of different ways that you can go with that, or a lot of different versions you can go. I tried to go something that was maybe in his, style, where it's very flourished and it's very theatrical, but I didn't want it to be too distracting. So I kind of went with these twirls that I saw in a lot of early concept design, and I kind of went with a more basic, very Wolverine-esque 3 claws with a little base there. I also wanted to make sure I added in his little rose there, because he's such a theatrical boy that having his rose in there it was really fitting for me. I also wanted to make sure that tattoo wasn't going to be too distracting either. So there were some designs where you can see like scales, all of the snake all over his skin, and it was just a little much, so I tried to keep it fairly basic. I just more or less wanted that color to kind of run through him, and kind of just have the base of the scales there without making it too busy. Again, I was discussing the hair earlier. The hair, sometimes he's depicted as blonde, sometimes brunette. It switches up all the time, and especially with character variations, it makes it even more confusing. So I ended up going with, in my head, what I originally think of him from the original series, which is that kind of brunette hair with a little bit darker skin. Not, obviously he's not super dark or anything like that, but the way he's depicted a lot of times now, it's very fair skinned, and he has a very blonde hair. So yeah, I ended up going with this look for him. I do keep to those 3 main tones there, but for the hair, you'll see in a bit, I do kind of go into a little bit more detail, and that's kind of how I think I'll do the hair going forward. You could actually see the eyes there, and I was debating if I was going to leave them just dark and completely black and you wouldn't see the eyes, or if you would see them pretty clearly. I kind of went halfway between that, and I'm really happy that I did. I like that you can see his eyes if you look closely, and they are pretty creepy, I think. And he's definitely really menacing looking. But yeah, I like that you don't really see his eyes maybe right away. I also wanted to give some movement with that hair. It's a little exaggerated. It's a little bit longer than it probably should be, but that's okay. I don't mind that. I like kind of some exaggerated poses sometimes, especially with over-the-top characters like this. I also wanted to give some movement with his hair and with that fabric, like he's doing a twirl, like a dance, like a flamenco kind of style movement there, and get some really interesting poses with him. With that, I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. It's another one of my favorites from these 4, and we have Vega.
Thailand.
And last up for this video, we have M. Bison. And M. Bison is another character that has gone through a lot of changes. When he was first depicted, he was a little bit skinnier. Now they make him a lot buffer. So I did kind of go with a little bit more of that buff look with M. Bison. It makes him a little bit more intimidating, I think. But he's a very interesting character because there's no, at least for me, when I look at him, I don't see any specific like ethnicity or anything like that. He's just this weird, creepy, like butt-chinned Nazi dictator looking dude. So it kind of makes a good villain, I guess, to kind of have this weird, almost supernatural-ish looking blank slate here to kind of work with. So anyways, with his chin there, I did make it a little bit bigger because that's just one of the things whenever I think of M. Bison, I think of that weird, really big chin that he has there. Also with those teeth, I wanted to make sure all of his teeth were showing, that it's just this really crazy grimacing smile that he always has, and you can see his huge muscles and pecs. When I look back at this, I'm just like, man, I made him really big, and I did make him a very wide boy here, so he's a lot thicker, but that's how they show him now. He's just this really, like, almost this brick, that you fight against. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to put his uniform on over him. You can see I'm kind of have that sketched over the top. I was debating if I was going to add a cape or not. I am really happy that I did. And when you actually fight him in that game, he doesn't have his cape on, but I think it just adds so much to his character to have that cape on him. Makes him look more like that dictatory kind of royal dude. Another challenging part I had personally was with the shoulder pads, and you can see me kind of mess around with them a couple times there to make sure that they are more or less kind of symmetrical. I think a part of that is because they kind of have this curve to them, and if it was just these really simple, like sharp edge geometric shapes, I think it would have been more simple to do, but it always gets a little bit more challenging for me when you do have those curves in there and it's something that's supposed to be symmetrical. Another thing about this character and his skin tone, it's kind of a little bit more grayish. Again, it's almost a supernatural kind of being, not quite zombie, but kind of getting there, I think. So I try to add in a little bit more gray, almost kind of deadish or undeadish tones to his skin. I don't know if that really came across, but that's what I was thinking when I was doing that. I didn't want that to be too exaggerated, but that's my mindset when I was making those tones. With the designs that you see on his shoulder pads there, I actually went in and found some reference, and mostly they're just skulls, right? He's very influenced by, man, I forget the name of the movie, but there's this Japanese movie that he's based on, and that character is obviously just based on a Nazi. So you have the lightning bolt sign there, you have a lot of skulls, the winged imagery there. You can see a little bit more of the grayish tones near the end here with the skin. And with that, we're coming up to the finish for this video, and that is M. Bison. So we have our first 4 characters done and several more to go, but it's definitely going to be a fun project, and I'm really excited to work on this one. With that being said too, let me tell you how you can win the Cammy Kotobukiya statue. It is the first edition of that statue. It is still in its box. All you need to do is subscribe and comment down below in one of the Street Fighter videos, and you are automatically entered to win this Cammy statue. So at the end of all the Street Fighter videos, I will announce a winner. It will be at random, and you'll get a Cammy statue. It's really cool. If you're wondering what to leave for a comment, simply tell me your favorite Street Fighter character, or maybe one of the favorite designs that I've done from the Street Fighter videos here. With that, if you could leave a like and if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.